Good morning. Welcome to community. Welcome to this circle. Welcome to SSUC. Whether here in this room or online, we are all spiritual seekers, and we're all united in community, near and far. Regardless of where we are on our journey, newcomers or old-timers, whether we're facing something new or something old, we're all on this path. And the thing about community is that we all seek to walk with each other, regardless of where we're at. And so I welcome you to this morning as we gather together to start a Sunday series that will see us through the next couple of weeks. A series about change and life's transitions, something that all of us know nothing about, right? Whether those changes and transitions are welcomed or thrust upon us in our lives, whether it's something that we plan for or whether it's something that just hits us and we didn't see coming. When it does come, we recognize the challenges and opportunities before us. And before we see the opportunities, we see the challenge in those changes. And so let's explore wisdom over the next few weeks that may help us to, yes, make our way through and journey our way through changes and transitions in life, but maybe we can hope for more than that. Maybe we can hope for wisdom that helps us thrive through those very changes. We have talked many times about the radical inclusivity, the welcome, and the work of this community. And one of the most important works of this community is how we meet, how we gather, whether it's here or in a meeting or doing something important or something fun. We gather as a community that welcomes all. And it doesn't matter who you are or what we happen to be going through, what brings us here or what mood we're in. We are about the work of including and welcoming. So whether you see yourselves in a box, in many boxes, or in no box at all, you're welcome. All sizes, all colors, all cultures, all genders, all sexualities, all religions and traditions, or none, or many, all abilities, all status, all types, all people, period. We're welcome, and we journey together. So, why don't we, as someone wise once said, warm the spaces in between us, not just with our presence with each other, but with our singing and our voices, in saying things in song that words just aren't enough for. Let's sing ourselves into community and into this time this morning.
Southminster Steinhauer United Church respectfully acknowledges that we are located on Treaty 6 territory, a traditional gathering place and traveling route and home for diverse Indigenous peoples, including the Cree, Blackfoot, Métis, Nakota Sioux, Iroquois, Dene Ta, Saulteaux, Inuit, and many others whose histories, languages, and cultures continue to influence and enrich our community. And now, as we do every Sunday when we gather, we light our candle of community. We light this candle as a reminder that we are all lights in the world, that as we learn who we truly are, as we awaken to the awe and wonder of this world, of our existence, of our place in the midst of all, we may see ourselves as lights in the world. As it's been attributed to a wise teacher 2,000 years ago, we are all a light, and we seek to discover it and allow it to shine. May this candle remind us of our power and our strength, our inner light to guide the way forward.
Good morning. So today, thinking about liminal space, this in between two things. I was thinking how humans lately seem to love binaries, two supposedly opposite categories, black and white, life and death, male, female, circular, linear, logical, emotional. So I was thinking about nature and wondering, does nature have a crisp line between spring and summer? Do trees have a line even between when they're living or dead? Who of you is going to tell Coyote that dusk is neither day nor night? And platypus, how dare you? Don't you realize we have categories, boxes? It's a very mature position to work to hold two things at once, many things at once, and it can be very hard. Or sometimes it's very easy to be in the liminal space, maybe at sunrise or sunset.
It is story time. If anyone wants to join us for a time for all ages, you're welcome to join us on the carpet. You're welcome to stay in your seats wherever you want to hear this story from. Good morning. I'll move over. There you go. Lots of room. Get your knees on the carpet. It's much warmer. I want to read to you. Do you know this person, Dr. Seuss? Yeah. He wrote a lot of stories. This is a book with a few of them in it. I want to read this one. It's called The Zacks. Do you know this one? No? Okay, let's see. See how it goes. It's really short. One day, making tracks in the prairie of Prax, came a north-going Zacks and a south-going Zacks. And it happened that both of them came to a place where they bumped. There they stood, foot to foot, face to face. "Look here now," the north-going Zack said. "I say, you are blocking my path. You are right in my way." "I'm a north-going Zax, and I always go north." "Get out of my way now, and let me go forth." "Who's in whose way?" snapped the south-going Zax. "I always go south, making south-going tracks. So you're in my way, and I ask you to move and let me go south in my south-going groove." Then the north-going Zax puffed his chest up with pride. "I never," he said, "take a step to one side. I'll prove to you that I won't change my ways if I have to keep standing here for 59 days. "And I'll prove to you," yelled the south-going Zax, "that I can stand here in the prairie of Prax for 59 years. For I live by a rule that I learned as a boy back in south-going school. Never budge. That's my rule. Never budge in the least. Not an inch to the west, not an inch to the east. I'll stay here not budging. I can and I will, if it makes you and me and the whole world stand still." Well, of course the world didn't stand still, the world grew. In a couple of years, the new highway came through, and they built it right over those two stubborn Zacks and left them there standing unbudged in their tracks. Look, they're still there. They even hung a sign. "Zacks bypass," it says. Oh, that's the end. That's the end. Thank you, Dr. Seuss. Did you think there might be an ending? No? That's okay? They're just there forever. Maybe. Now, if you were a north-going Zax or a south-going Zax, and you bumped, and you would never, you were just like these Zaxes, what do you think might be the smart thing to do? Oh, do you have an idea? What is it? Oh, just move out of the way. Well, they might move out of the way, or what else could they do?
If they were tall enough, they could jump over
Oh my gosh, if they were tall enough, they could jump over each other. See, you're already thinking, this is very good. This is very good. And you know, up isn't north or south or east or west, so maybe that wouldn't break their rules. They'd have to think about that and get creative. I wonder what would happen if instead of yelling at each other, they talked in a different way. Do you have any ideas about that? What could they talk about?
They could say, like, please, can you move out of my way? Maybe you can,
Yeah. Please, maybe, could you move out of the way? That was an excellent thought. What's another idea?
they could figure it out together.
They could figure it out together. That's another good idea. There are lots of ways that when we start being creative, when we start using our minds and our hearts, do you think that they knew how each other felt? Didn't they both want the same thing? They both wanted to keep going? So they both were the same. They were both the same, but they didn't realize that. They thought that they were fighting each other, but they both wanted to go, right? They could have talked about that. They could have felt what each other were feeling because they both felt the same way. Oh my gosh. So if you were Zach's, you wouldn't have had this problem, would you have? No. You could write the ending to this story. I am sure of it. Because sometimes, in order to make things work, we have to change our ideas sometimes. The ideas we start walking with aren't the ones we might finish with. Because we're going to meet people, maybe we'll have to talk, change our ideas, work it out together, get creative. I bet if they both like to dance, they could dance, and then they'd find themselves in a different place. Gosh. Thank you for listening to this very cute, very short, very weird story with no ending. Now you know what it could be. You're welcome to go to Kids Spirit this morning if you'd like. Daisy and Ariane are there. You're also welcome to do whatever you need to do. The childcare room or sit with who you came with. All of that is okay. All right. Thank you.
This morning's wisdom reading is taken from a poem by John O'Donohue called For the Interim Time. When near the end of day, life has drained out of night, and it is too soon for the mind of night to have darkened things. No place looks like itself. Loss of outline makes everything look strangely in between, unsure of what has been or what might come. In this wan light, even trees seem groundless. In a while, it will be night, but nothing here seems to believe the relief of darkness. You are in this time of interim, where everything seems withheld. The path you took to get here has washed out. The way forward is still concealed from you. The old is not old enough to have died away. The new is still too young to be born. You cannot lay claim to anything. In this place of dusk, your eyes are blurred and there is no mirror. Everyone else has lost sight of your heart, and you can see nowhere to put your trust. You know you have to make your own way through. As far as you can, hold your confidence. Do not allow confusion to squander this call, which is loosening your roots in false ground, that you might come free from all you have outgrown. What is being transfigured here is your mind, and it is difficult and slow to become new. The more faithfully you can endure here, the more refined your heart will become for your arrival in the new dawn. In the words of this contemporary poet, may we find wisdom for our living.
So, when we're talking about time and transitions and change, the title of this series is probably true for all of us, comes ready when we're ready or not. And we're going to talk through the coming weeks about a number of different life transitions, whether we're making those changes into adulthood or into parenthood or into retirement or into a new vocation or changes in relationship or changes in health or griefs and losses. These are all demands that each of us face at one time or another. They all have opportunities and dangers. But before we spend time focusing in on any of those, we're going to spend time talking about that awkward stage, that time that Allison helped us enter into with that connection to nature, and certainly that time and that space that our poet spoke of, that dusk where the outlines seem to fade away. Richard Rohr put it this way, we're going to talk about that place where we are betwixt and between the familiar and the completely unknown. That place, that time has been called, like we've heard, liminal space. That word liminal is from the Latin word limen, which means threshold. So a liminal space is that time between now and not yet, or what was and what is to be. It's the very definition of the middle of a transition, a time of waiting and not knowing exactly what's next. And if change is constant in life, then so is this space, this in-between space, the neutral zone, the nobody's land, necessary part of the journey. The problem is this space, this liminal space, doesn't ever feel very good. It can feel completely overwhelming and confusing. It's accompanied with, major changes in our life, things we don't necessarily like or welcome. Emotions are often raw, vulnerable, uncertain, and most of us, if we're honest, in the middle of that space, we do anything to go either way, to go back to what's familiar or to go forward to something to grab onto. But in this liminal space, it's often like there's nothing. Our ground is uneven. What do we grab? There's nothing there. That in-between time. And the transformation process requires old parts of us to fall away, to be deconstructed and dissolved so that we can create space for something new to arise. But does that sound fun? Deconstructed, dissolving? Does not. So when the space is clogged with the old, sometimes a good spring cleaning is in order. Have you been spring cleaning? You have? I have not. Maybe it'll happen one of these days. I power washed the house, but that's just fun. Come on. So, do you know that feeling? Maybe you've had it when you're going down the stairs and you think you're done, but there's one more step. Has that ever happened? Hopefully it's not far enough to hurt yourself, but my gosh, the gasp, the feeling in your gut that happens when that happens, it's like You could be falling 100,000 feet for all you knew. It's just, I think that's the feeling of having to let go of what was for what is when you don't yet know what that something is. Because, there's all kinds of things that we deal with. That first time that we realize that, oh yeah, we're grown-ups and the reality of childhood is over, like we have to make big decisions, or that death has taken someone we love. And that time that marriages or relationships evolve or change, begin or end. Or that those comfortable thoughts and beliefs and attitudes that seem to work for us for so long suddenly don't. But what takes their place? John O'Donohue, in his poem, said a lot of amazing things, but I want to read to you just 3 little stanzas. You are in this time of the interim, where everything seems withheld. The path you took to get here was washed out. The way forward is still concealed for you. The old is not old enough to have died away. The new is still too young to be born. Oh, what a place. The frickin' annoying thing about that place is that this time, this culture of ours doesn't train us to navigate that very well. I'm primed to expect instant things. I can order just about anything and it's on my doorstep the next day. I can send a message anywhere in the world instantaneously. I can have 24/7 access to whatever, information, healthcare, food, travel. Well, maybe not healthcare. Interim time is not the norm, but in the midst of this culture, perhaps it's nearly a necessary human vocation for us to nurture. In between time. So that's what we're talking about. In all 3 major world religions, we have story after story of this in-between time. The most famous of which is Moses, who in leading his people out of slavery in Egypt, finally make it away from their pursuers, their captors. And then what? They don't know. They don't know. They think they're going somewhere. They think they're going to home, whatever that is. But none of them have known this home. So 40 years in the wilderness. 40 years of in-between time. Now, 40 years is obviously literary hyperbole. But what's the point? The point is it was a damn long time. This land between no more and not yet can seem like a lifetime. So, what if in this in-between time, this wilderness, that it's not a time of wandering? What if it's not aimless? What if it's not waiting? What if it's not purposeless? What if we weren't so impatient? What if we weren't so quick to want to leave this weird vacant place of unknowing? What if we gave ourselves permission to be there for a while? What if we were to see this space as a time of patience, of self-love, of reflection, not a time to forge forward, because we're grasping it by the horns and we're going to ride it into the future as if any of us know what that might mean. What if that time weren't a time necessarily for immediate action and external creation, but for something that happens in us that will make whatever happens next be all the better? Not often is the wisdom that comes to us do nothing. But in that specific time of in-between, when a story is ending and before we enter the space of the next story, we draw on the concept of not forcing it. Another question for you, not about missing the last step of a staircase, but this time I'm sure you've all had this happen where you're just looking for the word in a conversation and it just is not there, and then you can't even think of a synonym for that word and it's just like blank, it's just nothing, except your own stupid, stumbling whatever's coming out of your mouth. In those situations, trying to find the word does not help. It's probably 5 minutes later when you're in your car that you'll think of that word. Finding your keys is the same. Do you think trying harder helps? No. If you have to force it, leave it. This is some wisdom from that liminal in-between space. When you let it go, when you're least expecting it, that word, that memory, your wallet or your phone will come to you unbidden. Well, hopefully. Now, let's apply that wisdom to this in-between space, a time of non-forcing. It means freedom from reflexive doing. It means not reacting, not saying, well, I did do this, so now I'm going to do the opposite. Acting, rather, when it's time to act. This is long, old spiritual wisdom, wouldn't you say? Acting when it's time to act, not on your schedule, on something bigger. Not acting when it's not time to act, also important. Action is thus aligned with the natural movement of things in service to that which wants to be born. What if instead we harness that energy of what it means to let go of what is old, misaligned, not working in our lives, and secondly, by doing that inner work, to drop into our bodies, to drop into our hearts and our guts, to connect with our desires and receive some clarity on our new path. And brace yourselves, be with yourself. Yikes. Scary. And maybe that's what I meant for a time for some self-love, because in our action, we can forget about ourselves. We can do stuff I can do it for me, I can do it for you, I can do it for anyone who comes along, but then I don't have to think about me and what's going inside me. So in this space, we will spend time with ourselves. I'm going to be done soon, I think. I hear you restless there. Connie Chapman. Here, this is some practical wisdom for us, because Connie Chapman, in her writing, Honor the Empty Space Between the Old and the New, well, that's exactly what we're talking about, has a few pieces of advice for us. She says, give yourself permission to have this time and space. Okay, thank you, Connie. That's what we're trying to do. But the next one, now we get specific. Drop the self-judgment that there's a timeline or a right way to do it. Whatever the changes that we're making or that we're confronted with. Just because you don't know the plan or can't articulate what's next doesn't mean your transition is failing. Now that we need to hear. We don't have to be able to say it yet. We don't have to be able to know just yet. Doesn't mean we're not doing it. And then the last thing she says, let go of your need to find certainty in the external. Embrace discovering small things along the way at unexpected times. Could it be that possibilities that didn't even exist in the old story lie before us, even if we have no idea how to get there? So here's a little quote from you. You may not have seen this one coming. This one's from the Tao Te Ching, verse 16, and it's translated by Charles Eisenstein. Some Eastern wisdom. All things return to their root. Returning to the root, there is stillness. In stillness, true purpose returns. This is what is real. Knowing the real, there is clarity. Not knowing the real, foolish action brings disaster. From knowing the real comes spaciousness. From spaciousness comes impartiality. From impartiality comes sovereignty. From sovereignty comes what is natural. What comes naturally is the Tao. From the Tao comes what is lasting, persisting beyond oneself. There's too much there to unpack. But in knowing the real, there's clarity. In not knowing the real, foolish action brings disaster. That is helpful for us in that in-between time. To spend time to know what's real for us. To feel and think deeply. In all of the transitions of life, we're going to go through this weird, uncomfortable space of in-between. It doesn't need to always be awkward and painful, though it probably will be. It can also be something more. It can be a time for ourselves, for depth, for learning, for self-love, for acceptance. So over the next few weeks, as we explore these specific times of transition in our lives, let's always keep open this space. Let's know that we'll always in some way be there, where nothing and maybe everything can happen. So the last word goes to Frederick Buechner. Listen to your life. See it for the fathomless mystery it is. In the boredom and the pain of it, no less than in the excitement and gladness. Touch, taste, smell your way to the holy and hidden heart of it. Because in the last analysis, all moments are key moments. And life itself is grace.
who are making invitations to come forward, please. We'll start with Emberwood.
Hi. So I'm Allison. Zoe Chaters and I do our outdoor initiatives here at SSUC. So we've got a 2-night retreat coming up called Lodge. And it would be so wonderful if a few of you were there. We would love to see a few of you there. So if you've always thought about it, I want to try one of those retreats, this May long weekend would be a wonderful one to try. It's in cabins, 2 overnights, lots of time outside, and you have a cabin, so as much time inside as you want. That'd be wonderful to see a few folks, because then you could sort of be ambassadors, tell people about Emberwood perhaps, if that's your way of being in the world, or we'd get some great feedback on the SSUC retreat that we're planning for the fall, so you could inform from what you learn what you might want to see at the retreat called Landscapes in the fall. So if you've always thought about it, great time to come. If you've never realized that Emberwood is for you, great time to think about that. We're also plugging away on the office. We hope to have it done pretty soon here. So we'll let you know. We're going to have an open house, and we'll make sure you know the date of that. So you can come on by and have a treat. Thanks.
Well, I have to say, Chris, you gave me lots of opportunity for opening lines to talk about the transition team this morning. As most of you know, we have been working quite diligently. There's now 10 of us on the team, and you have been working with us, answering our questions and providing us with lots of information. And we absolutely commit that it will not take us 40 years to move from the way we were to where we want to be. And I know it's not a lot of notice, but the time has come when we need your feedback again. We've taken everything you have told us thus far, and we've tried to put it down into 6 different areas, 6 different focus areas. And next Sunday, we would like you to stay. We'll feed you lunch, and we would like you to come and help us delve down into each of those 6 areas and identify some of what we actually need to do. What steps do we need to take? What resources do you think it's going to take for us to make that happen? So please, try to plan. We won't keep you long, I don't think. It won't be a 2:30, 3 o'clock. I'm hoping it will be more like 1:30, and we will get your information, and then the transition team is going to go into fast forward to try and pull it all together to have, we hope, a report for the board by the end of June. So the board has the summer to do some work and some planning, and come fall, we will be starting to see what the visions and dreams of Southminster Steiner look like for the future. There are sign-up sheets in the back. I have to tell you, now last event, 41 people actually signed the sheet, and 80 showed up. Okay, now I have to, Janice was in charge of food, and she did a miraculous job of somehow trying to balance that. So the reason we need to know if you are coming or not is so that we can be prepared to feed you appropriately. So please, if you are thinking you will be able to join us, please sign up and come and think about what you're most passionate about, because that's what we want you to work on. Thank you.
Our expansive Christianity, expansive spirituality session starts Wednesday. So get ready for it. We're going to have a second discussion group, and there'll be a presentation in the small hall, followed by breaking up into our 2 discussion groups. We're going to reach back into history and say why it is we came to create this very unique Southminster Steiner way of gathering spiritually. Sometimes we'll reach back 4,000 years, sometimes just 50. But we're going to go into the history, and it's going to be exciting.
Good morning, I'm Margaret. Well, have you been craving dessert in your life? Or maybe a savory? Or maybe you've been longing to have some company in your yard or in your house. Host a little party. Or maybe you've just been longing to get out of your house for a couple of hours. So, guess what's happening? May the 28th to June the 3rd, the last week of May into early June, it's our Guess Who's Coming to Dessert event throughout the week. So today we have 11 hosts already, and we'd love for a few more hosts to sign up. The more, the better. And then next week we will at last be able to sign up as guests. And you know it will all unfold eventually, all the arrangements. And about a day or two before, we will find out who our guests are, and we will find out where we're heading for that wonderful visit. So, last week of May.
As you know, June is the Indigenous Awareness Month, and we are going to work hard at making ourselves more aware. There are things coming up at the beginning of the month. We have the Red Dress Day, and today I want to bring to your attention the Moose Hide campaign. Everyone is welcome to take one of these home. You can go online and learn more. The Moose Hide campaign was begun about 10 years ago as an Indigenous-led campaign to help young men, young boys, old boys, to engage and actively make the world safer for men and women, and for women and girls in particular, to end violence. It started when Paul and his daughter Raven, who lived along the Highway of Tears, decided that she needed a future where she had opportunity, and thus began the campaign. May 11th, there will be fasting and lots of sessions of information. Learn more. You'll see 2 baskets. These are free. Take them. Thank you.
Good morning. For those of you who don't know, I'm Judy Dubé, and I'm here on behalf of our refugee support group. I'd like to take you on a very short, I promise you, Chris, very short journey back in a few years ago. In fact, to be specific, it was December 12th, 2018, when some of us from Southminster Steinauer journeyed very excitedly through that coldest night of the year out to the Edmonton International Airport. We were there to welcome to our community and to our homes a family from Syria who had left the war-torn situation they were in. And what a journey it has been. And for those of you who don't remember specifically or were here, it was Mohammed, Aisha, and their 4 children, Noor, Bashir, Sham, and Miriam, who was just a baby at the time, who had arrived. I would love to share many, many, many stories with you, but unfortunately, we'll have to meet in the parking lot afterwards to do that. The time we've spent together, Mohammed and Aisha, has been just amazing to help us get an understanding of the situation they have come from and to really help combine our Canadian and Arabic backgrounds. So let's go fast forward then to January 24th, 2 years later in 2020. And with the permission of the board here at Southminster, we submitted documents to Immigration Canada to sponsor Mohammed's brother, Hussein, and family, who at that time had also fled from Syria because of the conflict and were living in Turkey. And then, people, we waited and we waited and we waited 3.5 years. The last step on our journey, or our second last step, happened just 2 weeks ago, when on March 2nd, we, again, a small group of us journeyed out to the airport with great excitement to welcome Hussein, Rohaya, and their 3-year-old Saif, who is enjoying our facility here today with his cousins. It was a very, very special time for all of us, particularly to be part, in a small way, of the special reunion between these two brothers and their families. I think it's important for us to also remember at that time that Hussein and Rohaya and Saif had narrowly escaped the earthquake that hit their part of Turkey there in early February. So it made their coming here even extra more special. Moving on to today, I'm very pleased to share with you that Hussein, Rohaya, and Saif are now safely settled in their home in Mill Woods, close to Mohammed and Aisha. Their apartment, which has been provided by us, thank you, and very fully furnished. Thank you, thank you, thank you, everyone. And they are now safe and warm and looking forward to a warmer spring. We had a cold one, didn't we? Okay. Hussein would like to share just a few words with us, and Mohammed, because we don't know Arabic very well in this community, do we, will share his thoughts in English. Hussein?
هاي حسين أتشكرهم كثير جبت لي هنا أخي على كندا ترجم لهم.
Yeah, he said, thank you so much, guys, for help him, for support him. He so happy come to Canada here because now he's safe, you know, saving him and family too. Yeah.
أتشكر جودة أكثر شيء يعني والكفلاء جميعا عملهم جابونا على كندا. تفضل.
Yeah, he said, thank you, Judy, and all the group, and help him. Yeah.
Please join us for stories, but also for cake or in the coffee area when we're finished. And on behalf of all of us and our committee, we thank you so much for opening up your hearts and your wallets and your donations to make life a better place for Hussein, Rohaya, and little Saif here in our city. Thank you very much.
Please join me in strengthening our intentions with the words before you on the screen. In the midst of the ordinary, may we find time beyond time and space beyond space, where our hearts might intertwine with hope and stir our minds to think on higher things. There we will wait to know what we should do. There we will wait to know who we should be. May we give ourselves grace from self-judgment and let go of our need for certainty. In all the varied moments of our lives, may we embrace this time and space we create as a beautiful and necessary wonder. And as we learn to open ourselves to what we learn there, may we be blessed by the celebration and solace of community. We pray as those filled with light, yet ever seeking it.
So let's go. Not just for cake, but let's go without the need to do anything, but to go into a time to be with ourselves and to love whatever we find there. May it be so.